Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is, how did the narcissist get so much control over me? And this can also relate to, someone who is psychopathic as well. How is it that they got so much control over me? I don't like how I'm feeling. And for this person, they've been feeling this way for 30 years. And so they really want to understand and correct their life path and their journey and how they feel. So I definitely get that question. So I think that's a great viewer question that a lot of our viewers can benefit from. So let's dive in. So one important thing to understand about someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic is that they want to be superior than, better than, and basically set the rule of the roost with their close relationships as well as their extended relationships. They want that hallmark of sort of being special, not just being individual, not being unique. They want to be treated with a special treatment, that there's something about them that in the beginning, warrants that special treatment. Whether they're a music prodigy, whether they're wealthy, whether they have an illness, whether they don't have money, whether they have problems, whether they've been through, a lot, there's going to be this sort of specialness that they feel that they deserve. And people unwittingly, unknowingly sort of take the bait and they then become a support or supply to this notion. And that they are not only that they're better than, that they have more than. There's, once again, do you see how there's this hierarchy that is, that is being set up and structured in the relationship? Now, with all relationships, there's going to be a leader, there's going to be a follower, there's going to be a give and take, though. But in a healthy relationship that's function, it's going to be a give and take, and there's going to be honesty, transparency, and one isn't going to try to damage or hurt the other for their own ends. So the problem with the narcissist is that there's this buying in. I feel that if you kind of look back in the love bombing stage, even if it was 30 years ago, I know we have a lot of viewers who have been grappling with this, and it's now bubbling to the surface where it needs to be addressed. In other words, it's at that crossroads. Don't worry about it. You can handle it. We're here for you. We're gonna get through. We're gonna get the breakthrough, and you're gonna continue and maintain that course and understand and be able to correct. So you really understand the cause that's created this effect in your life. Don't worry about it. Just because you're hurting, it doesn't mean you're less than, worse than, weaker than. Get all those thoughts out that have been basically plaguing you, because a narcissist in the beginning, they will structure and set up that hierarchy. They are the authority. They are the one. They are the boss. They are the one who is above. There's all this sort of, they are the ascended and then everyone else is descending, and so they'll keep this sort of belief factored into their relationships, whether they use it through humor, maintain it through their communication, through their commands. They will foster and maintain that structure. In other words, but the problem with a narcissist, once again, there's a full spectrum, but the problem is that underneath, there is not a will or intention to commit or follow through or to be that with which they are portending or putting out there. And even though they know that they're going to hurt, they do this anyway. And so that's how they get the control, is that they, the love bombing stage where, you have the greatest belly laugh, you have the greatest meal, you have the greatest whatever, and then you then make that commitment that this is the one, this is the person, this is the Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, this is my heart, and so you begin sort of to follow and build that relationship. The problem with someone who is narcissistic is they have a pathological sense of self-importance coupled with a lack of empathy. So it's really all about them. It's not about a we, it's about a they. It's about, what they need and how they decoy and then string people along and play them along in order to keep them there as supply. So the problem, how did they get control? So you have to look at the beginning, and where did you sort of make that unconscious agreement that they were better than and that you would never be as good as, and so that's why you need the relationship. Almost as if you took the support role because you believed in your heart that you weren't all that in a bag of chips. To what degree did you make an unconscious agreement to them and to yourself that you would tolerate this and that you would just sort of go through the relationship, and that if so, if you kept that position and that approach and that perspective, that eventually everything would be harmonious and everything would be okay. With a narcissist, it's about a they. It's not about a we. It's about a them. It's them, them, them. And so that's really a problem. And even though they know that they're going to let down, disappoint, they'll then usually project and say, you let me down, you disappointed me. And you're like, I've only done, and so you get the brainwashing and the cognitive dissonance. But I've been here, I've done this, you've given all of yourself, and yet it was taken advantage of. You feel taken for a ride. So oftentimes it's in the ride that there might have been some joy, but yet were other red flags which you did not see, you did not acknowledge, you did not want to deal with. You thought that, oh, in the name of love, this person is enough, that I will just, I will, let it go. I will let it slide. I'll cut them some slack. It's okay. And then become an inch, becomes a mile, becomes 3 years, which becomes 2 decades. And you see how it can go unchecked with a narcissist. So they get control through sort of, playing people and sort of going through that love bombing. They take advantage of sort of a charming personality. Maybe they're good looking. Maybe they have whatever, the money, the job, the skills, and that, that sort of dominates and overrides the relationship. And then other people become the submissive. They become the one who is docile. They become the one who is agreeable. I don't want to become disagreeable, so I might as well, there's all these reasons why people then don't confront or don't even acknowledge and validate the red flags. So you have to, a lot of people then have numbed it out. Even though they should acknowledge it and look at it and say, this is not a good thing. Let's, realize this. So maybe there was too much drinking, drugging. They weren't where they were supposed to be on time, or, missed get-togethers, or what have you. So there's a degree to which they then take advantage and then take sort of liberties with people, which you would not then do to them. So there's not an equal give and take. In other words, they might cheat on you, and then you have a forgiveness coming to Jesus, a heart-to-heart session. But would you ever do that? So there's this, imbalance in the relationship. And then this quickly will throw people off center. It'll quickly make people doubt themselves. People will immediately begin to then say, I must be the problem, because the narcissist is always unchallenged. They're blameless, and then you then don't get a chance to shine. You just get a chance to be dulled out and darkened. So people then don't get a chance to shine, and so they kind of take that compromised position and in the relationship to think, well, this is what it must mean for the relationship to continue. So I will just be the docile, I will be the submissive one, and I'll let them be themselves, and I will then sacrifice for them. So there becomes this whole sacrificing in the name of love. And then, as with sacrificing, people become very attached to what can be like a martyrdom, or the codependence. There can be a lot of payoff with the being codependent, because there then becomes as a release of tension when you then satisfy their needs. Being a supply can be a cycle of tension and release of tension. And so this pattern, this loop, can then be reinforced. And then the narcissist is well aware of it. They acknowledge and validate that, I need more. I deserve more. So, a number of different people. I don't need to tell the truth. I don't need to be forthright. I don't need to be on time. I don't need to do my share. I don't need to be accountable. All these sort of irresponsibilities then are then, allowed to fester. And then there becomes a thinking about them all the time. The narcissist basically wants you then, how they also get control is not only through that deception and that sort of grandiosity and that entitlement that creates this cognitive dissonance and that, structuring of you as sort of the underling. And then you have to kind of be that disempowered in order to maintain the relationship, to continue to show up. And so with that, then there becomes the always thinking about them all the time, especially someone who is psychopathic. I mean, they know how to break people down, getting them where it hurts, so that they're thinking about them all the time, and you're not thinking about yourself. It's like you become an out-of-body experience. Keep an eye on them. What are they doing? What are they up to? Where are they going? What are they learning? What are they striving for? What do they have? It becomes an external locus of control. They become more important to you than you are to yourself. That is flawed thinking. That is not a healthy way to think. It creates issues in relationships, and then that's how people then stay in these relationships, but one is going to pay the price. So rather than paying the price to the narcissist, why don't you pay the price to yourself and kind of understand this so you can give value to self rather than externalizing the valuation. And so there's the thinking about them all the time. The psychopath is an expert at finding people's needs voids and filling them up. So just like an empty cup needs something in it, an empty stomach needs something in it, an empty heart needs something in it, a need needs something, and the psychopath is adept. Here we're kind of going into the psychopath realm as well as a narcissist, but the psychopath unequivocally knows how to scan a group, a person, an organization, a relationship, a family, and know just what to do to get their way and to sort of get in the cracks, get in, under the door hinge in order to sort of get through and get people, manipulated according to how they want things to flow. And people oftentimes unwittingly and unknowingly just jump on the bandwagon right away. Take this, do that, have this, oh yes. And then, because there's this charm, there's this enthusiasm that they will, in the love bombing stage, that they will exude, but it is not sustainable. And you'll find when eventually they show their colors, and then you find out and expose them. But there's always thinking about them all the time. I just want to make sure you went to bed okay. I just want to make sure you got your coffee. I want to make sure you got your headset plugged in. Here's a picture of me. You're trying to work, and then here's another, you're trying to use your own empowerment, and then there's these interruptions, which then, causes you to think about them all the time. I mean, if you could raise your hands right now, how many of you have been there? And how many of you are still there? And how many of you want to remain there? So look at this question and understand that this is also how they get control. Also, the better than. In other words, why don't you bask in my awesomeness is really like what the narcissist is saying, rather than allowing you empathy and saying, hey, well, what about your awesomeness? What about what you need? What about, some things you want to do? What about you becoming? You don't have these sort of supportive back and forth discussions, and the telltale sign is, would you do that to them, which they are doing to you? There's often a double and triple life, which you don't even see when you're with them. And so there becomes then this paranoia, which can then, in the further stages, and then the emotional pain. So it's very complex. It's not your usual relationship. Not a lot of people understand exactly how that sort of psychological hijacking or sort of, manipulation or getting control takes place in the beginning stages. So you can see kind of a before and after effect. And we do talk about this more in depth in our membership. So I just want to real quick get into that. Yes, we're launching the Peace and Harmony memberships. There is a join tab on the homepage here. It is live. I've had a lot of people asking that they couldn't see it. I have confirmed with YouTube that you can join. So check out the membership area. We're going into more in depth in terms of discussion and the actual tools to get into and help to understand this and open up that sort of awareness within you and have that shift of consciousness, sort of that mind altering effect when it comes to understanding things. And the memberships are available so you can kind of be sort of in the in-group, or for people who really want to get this, for people who are really sick and tired of being in sick and tired, and they really need and want some more. So definitely check out the membership. It is available to you, and if you have any trouble getting it, please let me know. And so once again, getting back to, and I'm very excited about the membership because we're going to do a lot more of the stuff that I've wanted to do there. And yes, we're going to still keep posting videos. However, some more of the in-depth, the juice is going to be more in the membership, so we can kind of really go there for people who are serious. And have been, I know maybe you've been with me for, 2 or 3 years. You can still get to the next level and keep your healing and your security and your strength maintained. Really get it, keep it going to the next level so you can cross a new finish line and have even a better breakthrough. So you really are at where where you want to be. And so realize, okay, so anyway, the narcissist, so it's the always thinking about me, and that, and then you then feeding them through their attention. The narcissist wants the attention all the time, and as if no one else deserves attention, as if no one else has anything. They always sort of want that. And there are wonderful people who deserve and get all sorts of attention, but it's a give and take. In other words, they're not attention hogs. They can be sharing something. Look at what I'm doing. Look at this. Look at my pictures. Look at my art. Look at our travels. They're getting the attention, but they're sharing. There's a huge, vast difference towards introducing a narcissist and introducing someone with humanity and heart. It's a whole different vibe, and you can see it, and you can know it. And for a lot of people, they make the mistake of thinking a relationship with a narcissist is going to take them to the next level, or they can't get there because they're not whole and strong enough on their own. So there's this sort of like, I'm only, the bit apple, I'm not a full apple. So in other words, a lot of people feel like they have subconsciously something missing within themselves, and that they need to take this support role for this relationship. So once again, there's a subconscious agreement that can be sort of proliferated, and like the altering of your DNA, it can cause you to make decisions along that line that sets you, where you really would prefer not to be. In relationships, in life, in your happiness, and what you've accomplished, or in your professional life, what have you, and sort of feeling that you're meeting your potential, because really eventually you'll feel that you're not living your potential. You're not, there's something that needs to change. That's that sneaky feeling, that gurgling feeling in the gut. And so, but oftentimes it is those feelings that are ignored and that then are just sort of repressed. When you repress something, it's pushed down, but it is still there. And it gathers more energy. The more intense and the more energy it takes to push it down, it takes a lot of energy. So then people then get this adrenal fatigue because they're sort of running on empty. They're running on repression. They're running on stress. A relationship with a narcissist can be a lot of pressure. It can be very stressful. And then there's this feeling that, for relationships to be good, there can be a lot of these sort of idiosyncratic thoughts that for relationships to be good, they must be a lot of work. They must be stressful. They must be where I'm pushing myself, and over obligating. This is what, strong relationships are. So there can be a lot of this flawed thinking going around, keeping the narcissist in place and basically keeping that control over you. So they do it up, so not only do they break people down, but there's this thing, unconscious agreement, that, my needs can only be met by this person, and that you don't even acknowledge it and validate it. It needs to be sort of clearly understood in reflection. And then through the role of metacognition, which means a higher level thinking, your higher self, the ability to think about what you're thinking about. In other words, get and exercise that area. That even, to be rigorously honest to yourself is oftentimes what you need to do to release the pain. But oftentimes it's painful to admit, I made a mistake, I didn't see the red flag, I didn't know better, I gave them so much time, whatever it is. Oftentimes there's this feeling of loss that wants to still hold on, even though the holding on prevents you from getting what it is that you want. Holding on to that relationship is not going to get you where you originally want. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like you can't simultaneously still be in the pain and then go after your dreams. It becomes a real important thing to make your decision. So you might get a breakthrough, you might have an aha moment, and then all of a sudden your feelings will change. It might take a couple of weeks, it might take a couple of days, it might take, 20 days. It's different for each person, but eventually, if you keep working on this, you will get it. You will understand. You'll have that breakthrough, and you'll be able to sort of shift and let go and release and not feel guilty, funky, less than. You'll sort of come through. You'll come through it. You'll have a breakthrough. It's an energetic experience. And so there is an understanding of the role that you play with maintaining the hurt, and what is the payoff that you're getting from allowing this to continue. And so they get the control by that. And so you have to say, and willingly, I'm not going to jump at that. I'm not going to take the bait for that. I'm not going to agree that I am less than. I'm not going to agree to that. I'm going to agree to what is empowering for me. And I need to begin there and surround myself with people who are supportive of me, and I can be supportive of them. So it is functioning and it is balanced, and you can be centered, and then being able to, once you're centered and in a calm, body, then you can hear, and you'll know your instinct, your intuition, your gut, your own right behavior will be able to pick up. And then you'll stop stopping yourself from doing what you're supposed to do. You'll stop worrying about the narcissist. You'll stop worrying that you're not good enough. You'll stop worrying that you don't have what it takes. You'll stop worrying, that society will look on me. You'll remove that stigma. It's all just a creation of the mind that is a part of the ego that the narcissist lives in. It's a very egoic, conditional relationship. Relationships don't have to be that burdensome, cumbersome. They can be lighter, filled with joy, laughter, sharing, give and take, no worry. It's like the function zone, the positive zone. And so the relationships and how you feel can and will change if you so desire. And you have to keep your eye and visualize to materialize your desire. And so you have to enforce it. We talk about a lot of these tools in the membership that I'm working on, as well as the book. What are some actual tools? I am all about, doing this and getting it done and getting results. I have a passion. I do not want people to suffer unnecessarily. The degree of stress, especially that a lot of the social media has indoctrinated the cultures, I think it's very sad. People spend too much time worrying about their Facebook status, maintaining they can spend hours on Facebook just trying to make sure that they've, liked and it's just, and then they worry that they're not good enough. We're talking oftentimes about our younger generation. It's just, it is a passion of mine to help people who have been through this pain. And I want to be there like a hand to lift you to the other side. And let's cross that finish line. It's very important. So I have a lot of tools that can assist you to actualize and realize the real deal, getting through this and being okay with it and saying, okay, and to understand how this happened and where you are right now is where you are supposed to be. I think a lot of the emotional pain is people are perpetuating, well, I should still be with this person. I should have done this. So they're sort of landing themselves back, and they're not realizing that how they feel and where they're at right now is right where you're supposed to be. And that this is divine order working in your life, and that is bigger and more important than the hurt. The divine order is trying to give you some messages and direction and tools so you can move through with grace, so you can understand and everything will make sense to you as you continue your journey. And it's important to do that so you can actually embrace your real I am and not feel guilty, wrong, ashamed for it, and own it. The narcissist makes you feel that, unless you're sort of, doing what they want, that you're not okay. And so that validation really needs to grow within you. And I hope that you can understand the validation of your feelings and the validation of your I am, that is oftentimes that experience is not experienced in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath. So they're furthermore able to get, you become subject to manipulation because of these things. And there's, of course, a lot more. But we're going to develop that once again in the membership. And, please comment if you have any questions or feedback, for this. And I hope it gives you an understanding of how the narcissist is able to manipulate and get attention and sort of indoctrinate and brainwash people to get what they want versus what is good for you and supportive and liberating for you. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that the videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, please donate, and please join the new Peace and Harmony memberships here on the Join tab here at YouTube. And you can do this. You've got the strength, you've got the clarity, and you've got the heart. Even if the heart has, direction for you, follow it. Begin to follow your heart and not just that internal critic and censor this, do that tomorrow, do that later. Begin to sort of use your heart and follow the momentum and sort of that propulsion moving forward. Allow yourself to do and live in the direction of your dreams so you can be pleasantly surprised and reduce that sort of fear that makes it seem so difficult. It's not as difficult oftentimes as the fear makes it out to be. Have a beautiful day.